I am a firm believer of the age-old saying that all leaders are readers. And if you're a reader, definitely you have to connect with an author. Today I have an 18-year-old author of 2 books and my new friend, Katelyn Olmsted. I'm here to have a conversation with her, and I'm hoping that whatever we'll be sharing today will be so meaningful to help you and I grow to become better versions of ourselves in relation to our purpose and whatever we are here to do on earth. Katelyn.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to have you on the podcast.
Yes.
So to begin with, 18-year-old, 2 books. How do you feel?
I feel like that's like a big question just because I feel so many different things. Definitely accomplished, but there's lots of pros and cons to publishing now 2 books. It's a difficult process, and I feel like being in recovery and having 2 books, a lot of people are like, oh, you must have your life together, things must be easy for you and you're fully recovered, but it's a big misconception. Just because like I feel like I have a standard to live up to.
True.
Writing books about recovery, I feel like I'm like, okay, I have to have my life together, and in reality I'm like, no, okay, it's okay to have bad days, it's okay to have good days. But I feel accomplished, I feel good, I always say, as long as I'm helping one person. So
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. What's like the main thing that gave you the drive to, publish those 2 books? Because you started writing at 15, right? Yeah, so what was the drive at 15 to, come out with writing these amazing masterpieces?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like my faith is a big thing. While I went into treatment, I didn't have a big belief in God, and I was very confused where I stood with my faith. But the whole time I leaned into Jeremiah 29:11, which talks about God's plans for us, and I was like, you know what? I feel like God's plan for me is to help people. So at 15, I wasn't really expecting to write or publish a book. I was like, I'm going to write for fun, and it really helped me to do that. And I realized it was helping other people when they were able to read what I was writing. And I was like, you know what, let's publish this. Let me be able to help more people. And the whole time I could feel God just being like, this is my plan for you, and this is what I want you to do. And a part of publishing my book about recovery is I could talk about God and kind of spread more of the gospel, which I feel like was also very important.
Wow.
So I feel like it was just like a meant to be thing. I was 15 in treatment, not knowing what I was supposed to do, not knowing where God was going to take me. And then here I am now studying to be an eating disorder therapist and writing more books. So I feel like it all leads back to God.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Glory be to God. Your first book, which is The Daily Dose of an Eating Disorder to Recovery, right? You talk about your eating disorder. So for context, what is an eating disorder? And then how did you get there to that point where you were kind of struggling with it?
Yeah. There's a lot of different eating disorders. So I feel like there's not one definition that fits an eating disorder, just because a lot of people have different struggles within their eating disorder. So for me, I struggled with anorexia. So I was restricting, over-exercising, and I became very malnourished through that. So I was entering high school after COVID, so we were doing online school, and I started playing more competitive volleyball. So I was being very active, going from sitting in front of a screen, not being able to play volleyball, to then being at a new high school, comparing myself to a lot of people, just because I feel like high school is a lot of that. Like we kind of talked about, people are not sure what their purpose is, and they define their purpose a lot within what they look like and how other people see them. So I started following into that like it was a trend, like, okay, my purpose needs to be how I look, what I eat, what I do, and so that became very obsessive. So I was doing volleyball, under eating, and then I started having an addiction to weighing myself, and so that just became like a domino effect of worse and worse.
Yeah.
So it was like I would get up, go to volleyball, go to school, weigh myself, not eat anything. So I would restrict lunch and then end up restricting dinner, breakfast, and I ended up, fast forward to my sophomore year, got to the point where I didn't really have the ability to play volleyball anymore just because I was so malnourished. And I didn't know what my purpose was for my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mom started to realize that, and that's when we kind of got concerned just because my will to live wasn't there. I wasn't able to get up and go to school or enjoy the things I once did. So my mom ultimately made the decision that, okay, we're going to take you to a hospital, a treatment center, and get you the help you need, just because I needed to lean on other people since I couldn't lean on myself anymore. And so made the decision to get help, which it wasn't an easy process. I say recovery is not linear. And so I was there for 3 months, 90 days, and I just had to find a new purpose. So my purpose was no longer fulfilled in what I look like or what I eat, but of why I should recover, why food is fuel, why my body is a temple and does the thing that it does. And so I now carry that with myself.
True.
3 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a very powerful story. You know, there is this kind of misconception that you have to kind of work tirelessly to kind of fulfill your purpose or achieve your goals and dreams. And many people do this at the peril of their body, right? Which is like the main kind of like functioning device that helps you to, fulfill purpose on this earth. What would you say to someone who is kind of like, because you've lived it, sacrificing their health, physical health, to fulfill something, to achieve a goal? Would you say it's worth it? And what advice would you give to that person?
I feel like for me is I thought the ultimate goal was how I look. So I started sacrificing my health. I started sacrificing my friends, the ability to live and get up every day. So I feel like my advice to people is just, you don't have to sacrifice the things you love to fulfill like addictions or fulfill the things of the world. Again, why I think like Brink is so important and what you talk about is just, in today's society, like our purpose is defined in all the wrong things.
True.
And so my advice would just to be like, you're beautiful and you don't have to fulfill the things of the world and you don't have to just like follow that path. So it's a hard process, but it's not worth sacrificing, especially things like your health, because whether you're struggling mental health, physical health, all that's not worth it.
Wow. That's so powerful. And I think a lot of people needed to hear that because, the trends, a lot of things going on in our world today, it's kind of stimulating. It creates this urge in young people to kind of follow the trend, do what's going on. And as you said, it's not really worth it. The moments that we go through in our lives, which are very tough, just like what you just laid out, I call those moments Brink moments, and you can tie it to our organization and what we do on the podcast. What is one important thing that you learned going through this procedure where you kind of like almost sacrifice your health to attain something?
I feel like I've learned so much throughout the years, and obviously you're always learning more. But one of the things that I never realized was how much of an impact our words have. I always talk about how words have weight. And throughout my whole life, I was constantly told I need to look a certain way or I need to act a certain way. And that really sits with you. And I ended up going to church and I heard a sermon about how our words have weight, but also how it takes 7 positive words to cancel out 1 negative word.
Wow.
And so that really sat with me, especially within my recovery journey. And I was like, no wonder, like, my whole time dealing with my eating disorder was just full of negative, and I couldn't get out of that trap is because I would wake up and I would tell myself, I look like this, I need to change this, I need to do this.
Mm.
And I was filling my head with all the negatives.
Yeah.
So I started researching, and I created the 721 challenge, which we talked about a little bit. And I wanted to promote the fact that, okay, it takes 7 positive words to cancel out 1 negative word. People should, do this challenge where 3 times a day they say 7 positive words to cancel out the negative words they endure. It's also very much like what you say to yourself is what you start to believe.
True.
So I was like, if I start to believe that I am beautiful, that food is fuel, that I can do hard things, other people can as well.
True.
So I started just promoting the fact that you can look in the mirror and you can tell yourself, like, even if it's something small, like, I like my smile, I like my hair today, I can do hard things. You really start to believe that, and it's important because, again, our purpose in this society, we fulfill it in the wrong things. So if we start to fulfill it in the truth and what God says about us, like, our body's a temple, that, like, words have weight. And that's, like, the big thing that I say is just, it doesn't have to be negative weight. It can be positive, too.
Wow.
So I feel like spreading
that's so
that.
beautiful. That's
Thank you.
honestly, that's so beautiful. And we'll kind of like double down on the 721 challenge as you laid perfectly in your book, right? And as you started talking about, our words having weight, I kind of like was thinking about this scenario where, sometimes when something happens to someone or someone is going through something, I kind of like have this sympathy and I say positive things to them. But in the case that relates to me, I don't even say it to myself, right?
Yeah.
So I caught myself in this kind of like situation where I can say when people sneeze or something, I can say bless you, right? But I wasn't saying it to myself. So a point came when I was reflecting. I was in the car by myself, and then I sneezed and I told myself, and it felt so comforting, right? That the positive words or the encouraging words or even the words that you say to yourself go a long way. And the statistics that you mentioned about 7 positive words canceling 1 negative word, it's so powerful. And there are a lot of negative things rushing through our brains, going past the gates of our mind every now and then. So we need to kind of like double down on the positive words that we tell ourselves all the time. So let's take it into practicality, right? How does the 721 challenge look like? Or the lesson that you learned?
I'm glad you said that, just because I always tell my friends, like, how can you say all these positive things to other people but you can't say it to yourself?
True.
Like, why can't you believe it for yourself? And because it's kind of an awkward thing to sit there and be like, oh, let me list out all the positive things about myself, but it is possible. So I also made business cards that had like positive words on the back that people can look at. But some of the things can be as simple as, I can do hard things, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I am talented, I am kind, I believe in myself, and I love my hair.
Wow.
It could be as simple as that. And I personally like to make the challenge harder, where I go and I text people. So even if it's texting 3 people 7 things, and then taking those and believing it for yourself, it just can do so much. So I tell my friends all the time, start simple. Like, look in the mirror. If you can tell your friends all these 7 positive things, I know you can say it for yourself.
Wow.
And it's just fun to hear my friends, like, if any of us say something negative, we're like, oh, you have to say 7 positive things now. And it really sticks. And I think it's more powerful than people think, because if we all start to do it, then it's like, I feel like our minds will just be so much more positive. This world will be so much more positive if that's what we focused on.
Absolutely. That's honestly powerful. And as you started talking about it, I kind of reflected of one of the most sought after motivational speakers in our generation, called Brian Tracy. And he kind of like lists something in that regard. He said, anytime you tell yourself something good or positive, it kind of reprograms your subconscious, right? So he kind of used this process where you stand in the mirror and then you keep telling yourself, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. And the more you keep saying these things, the more you kind of program your subconscious. So you know your self-worth, you know who you are aware of the kind of situation and the person that you are. which in our world today, a lot of young people lack it. Identity crisis and a lot of things like that. So that's a very beautiful challenge. Yeah, that's
well,
awesome.
I want to add on that, if
All
that's
right.
okay. I feel like it's also about habit.
Mm.
You know, we create all these habits, like, you know, biting your nails or something, and you're able to break habits. And people create a habit in saying negative things, but it's like, why can't we create a habit saying positive things? And like you said, we're standing in that mirror being like, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. If you do it enough, it's just going to be a habit where you wake up, you see a mirror, and your mind's going to go to, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. So yeah, it starts off weird whenever you start or break a habit. But the thing with habits is, like, our mind's just going to go straight to it if you continue to do it.
Wow, that's so powerful. Yeah. So let's drive straight back to your recovery, right? So you mentioned how you were in this hospital going through a recovery phase. How was it like?
Yeah. It was very difficult and very weird. You are very strictly monitored. You know, you have a strict schedule where you wake up. We had to get weights. I had to get my blood drawn twice a day, every day. You know, you have to get your vitals, and then you have to go to all these therapy groups, and then you come back, and you would be lucky if you had 30 minutes to call your loved ones. And so it was weird, but I definitely got used to it, and there's times that were hard. Something I don't talk about as much is I had a feeding tube. So my restriction was so deep and my eating disorder was so loud that they had to insert the tube just so I could get proper nutrition. So going through stuff like that was really hard, but again, like, that's not what I find my purpose in. And so it was a lot to learn, but I would say before, I knew what an eating disorder was, but I didn't really know the depths of an eating disorder. I didn't know what it meant to have an eating disorder, go through recovery. And so after treatment, I was so educated on the purpose of going through recovery and how important it is, and how important it is to love your body. And I just so badly want other people to know and see that, because I was fortunate to have the care to go to treatment and get the therapy I needed, but a lot of people don't have that.
True.
And so if there's a way where I can share the things I learned, and again, like I always say, just help that one person.
At least one person,
And plant that, like, mustard seed of faith. I feel like that's so powerful, just using the things I learned, because there's so much. It's never ending, and like I say all the time, I'm constantly learning new stuff every day. So I feel like I went to treatment in high school, and now I'm in college, and that's a whole new learning experience. Because recovery is different at every stage of your life, and like any other addiction, it stays with you every day. It just is how you cope with it. So while I may have an eating disorder thought, I now know how to combat the thoughts. I know how to cope with the thoughts and not feed into my eating disorder. And I feel like that's important, is you may feel like you can't do it, but you can, and it takes time, and you're going to have hard days. But if you want it badly enough, like, you can do it.
Yeah. And also, like, you echoed in your first statement how recovery is not linear, right? So let's kind of plug into different kind of scenarios where people are having addictions in different forms, right? Or even having kind of crisis regarding their mental health or anything, right? When it comes to recovery, what is one advice that you would share with people regarding any type of recovery? I know there's not like a general kind of, wisdom that you can share to cut across, but what would you suggest people pay attention to when they want to recover or break an addiction?
Ride the wave. I also, going along, riding the wave, riding the roller coaster where you're going to have ups and downs, and it's going to be bumpy. I always say things start screaming when they're dying. So whenever you're trying to break an addiction, your thoughts are going to get so loud that it starts screaming.
True.
And you're going to be like, I can't do this anymore. My thoughts are even louder. But in reality, you're killing that addiction. And it's getting so loud because things start screaming when they're dying. So have patience, trust the process. It's not going to be easy, but you can do it. And it's going to get really hard when you're going to be at the tip of the roller coaster. But there's a point where it goes downhill. It goes
down as well,
And then it's smooth, and then you're off the ride. And again, like habits, it's going to be a habit to not want to go back to an eating disorder or mental health addictions, depression, and you're going to know the tools to be able to cope with it. So if you're able to ride the wave and figure out what's smooth sailing for you, it gets easier.
Wow. That's beautiful. Regarding you going through that recovery process, right? Do you think you became a new person after that? Not like in a kind of serious context, but do you think you changed to become a new person after going through this process?
I wouldn't say I became a new person. I would say I became changed in a sense. I feel like it's all about, like, in a way, I educated myself. And just like anyone going through a hard thing, while I didn't become a new person, I became a changed person, and I found a new purpose.
True.
So while my purpose is not led into my eating disorder or how I look or what I eat, it's now, okay, I want to help other people. I want to make a difference. I want to follow God. And I just created a new purpose. And I feel like that's really important because a lot of the time people are trying to, become a new person. And that's not what it is. You don't have to change everything about yourself to be different. And so I feel like that's what I would have to say about that.
That's so powerful. Like, you are awesome the way you are. You are beautiful the way you are. Having a change in perspective or like embracing new things doesn't change your personality. You are awesome. You are beautiful. You are intelligent. You have everything it takes to live this purpose, right? So circumstances might change, but you stay true to yourself and kind of walk in this path. The difficult thing about your whole process is, being able to go through it and then sharing your story with people, right? And I think, in a way, I don't know if it comes easy to you that you have the story there. How were you able to connect the story with your passion for writing so that you were able to, share your story in the form of books to other people?
Again, like I said earlier, I wasn't really expecting to publish a book. I'd always had a love for writing, even at a young age, but I was just doing it in like a journaling sense. Like, okay, this is a good coping skill for me, and it helps me. But then I realized, wow, I'm helping other people in the process just from my friends reading what I was writing. And I realized helping other people and fueling their recovery really fueled my recovery because I can't give all this advice and not use it for myself. So I realized, like, okay, this could be a tool to help other people. Not only is it a coping skill because I'm journaling, I'm writing, I'm getting my thoughts out, but God gave me a gift, and also I had the ability to go to treatment and get help and learn all these tools. Why keep that to myself? And so I was like, I want to share this to the world. I want to help other people. I want to make a difference. And if God gave me the gift to write, the gift to publish books and share my story, then I should use that. And it just became something that I was like, this makes sense. This is like, I was sitting in my treatment bed like, why me, God? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I dealing with this? And I realized this is why. Even though what I went through was so hard, it became my story. It became my way to help other people. And so writing books just became my outlet. It became my fuel to help other people's recovery and the fuel to help my recovery.
Wow. That's a kind of like good way to give back to the world, right?